What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. In this video, it's August 24th. Going to be doing my top 175 rankings for you guys. I'm sure you guys have drafts coming up this weekend, if not Labor Day weekend. So this is a good exercise to basically just kind of see how I'm feeling about the board all the way 1 through 70 through 175. So we're basically going to hop into a screen share here, and I'm just going to basically do a draft for you guys. I have the spreadsheet open up here. Let me do some zoom in, and I kind of want to just basically go down the list. We'll kind of figure it out together. And I think this is going to be more of like a universal rankings. My usual mindset is for PPR leagues, half PPR leagues. Hopefully you're not in too many standard leagues anymore, but let's go ahead and just get this started right away. And then I'm going to use the bookmark chapters. We'll go by round. So first round will be first, and let's hop right into it. I think my first player off the board, it's going to be Justin Jefferson. I'm a huge fan of his game, and I think, man, like one of the safest wide receiver picks that I think you can make. And honestly, he just deserves to be the one-on-one in pretty much every draft. I think if you have the first overall pick, you're taking Justin Jefferson, and you just got to deal with it, and you'll figure it out round 2 and 3. Now, after that, I do think there's 3 guys that you could take in the next 2, 3, 4 picks. If I'm at number 2, I'm taking Ja'Marr Chase, who I actually think is not too far off of Justin Jefferson. And I know Ja'Marr Chase is really good. He missed some time last year, but he led the league in targets per game last year at 10.8 targets per game. You times that by 17 games if he plays healthy, and you're looking at 100 and almost 170, 180 targets. He's that good. I think he's got a good chance to lead the league in touchdowns this year, good chance to lead the league in targets and receptions. He's going to be right there next to Justin Jefferson, I believe. If you want to take him number 1, you could do it, but I still think it's JJ, then Chase. And then we get into picks 3 and 4. I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey here as my first running back off the board. But honestly, the decision between Eckler and CMC, it's kind of a coin flip. Personally, I have them pretty much tied in my projections with the numbers, so it really doesn't matter. I do think CMC is going to have better rushing stats. Eckler's going to have better receiving stats, but they're both going to be heavily used in the passing game. It's a preference call. If you want to go Eckler at 3, do so. If you want to go McCaffrey at 3, go ahead and do it as well. But either way, I think that's the clear top 4 for me. And you can play around with the order. If you get Ja'Marr Chase at 4, that's great. If you want to take CMC or Eckler at 2 or 3, go ahead and do it. That's how I'm doing it, though. The top 4, JJ, Chase, CMC, Eckler. At 5 is where the decisions come in. And I'm a big fan of kind of continuing the wide receivers here. I'm going to push Travis Kelce down just a few picks. He is the next best available in terms of ADP. But I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill, man. Tyreek Hill still in his prime. Kupp and Kelce a little bit older. I'm going to take Tyreek number 5. I love that Miami offense. They're going to air it out, and they're going to pummel him with targets and receptions. Again, he's going to flirt with, 1,800 receiving yards. He had a ton of targets and receptions last year. I think Tyreek set to repeat again as a top 5 wide receiver. I'm going to get Cooper Kupp off the board here at number 6. And again, these guys are kind of a coin flip. I kind of view these guys all in a tier here. So I'm going to go Tyreek, Kupp, Kelce. These guys are all, more towards the back end of their careers, but they still have elite fantasy seasons in them this year. I think with Cooper Kupp, everyone was nervous about that injury. I'm not anymore. He's back at practice. He sounds good to go. Cooper Kupp's going to be a huge wide receiver, top 3, top 5 threat this year, as long as Stafford stays healthy. That's the one hiccup there. I think Stafford's health, Rams' health, we'll see. Rams defense can be really bad, though, so they're going to have to throw the ball, I think, a ton. And then Kelce is just old reliable. If you want to take a stab at the tight end 1, there you go. I think he shouldn't fall past 7. And then after that, it gets interesting. I think I could go looking at some of these wide receivers here, Diggs, Lamb, Adams. But personally, I'm going to get Bijan Robinson in there, one of my favorite running backs to take this year in the draft. He's a rookie, yes, but you don't really see rookies go 8th overall in the NFL draft. When that happens, you want them on your fantasy team. You could argue that you want Bijan over Travis Kelce. You can argue over the receivers there, Kupp and Hill as well. I like Bijan. To me, he's even safer than CMC Eckler because he's got, he's fresh legs. He's healthy. He's right out of college. He's a tank. He's going to get the ball a ton in Atlanta, team that runs the ball the most in the league. He's going to be heavily used in pretty much every situation. And I think the one thing that holds him back, and it's a bit of an unknown, is his receiving workload. But I love Bijan there. We'll put him at 8. I'm going to put Saquon Barkley here at number 9. If you're picking running backs in the back end of the first round, Barkley makes the list for me. And then actually, I'm going to go ahead and get another running back here, and that's Tony Pollard. I have Tony Pollard ranked as my third running back in projections. I'm going to put him here at RB5, and that should be ahead of consensus, where if you want Pollard, you're probably going to get him in my rankings here. So Bijan, Barkley Pollard, those guys are all late first round picks. Love these guys in pretty much any format. They're smash RB, top 5 running backs. So build your draft off those guys. Next, we're going to go with wide receiver Stephon Diggs. And we're going to go on a little wide receiver run here. Let's get Diggs in there. I'm going to go A.J. Brown. And that's the end of round 1. Let's finish this up. Yeah, so I mentioned we're going to do the chapters thing. So this is my round 1. I ended up with Diggs and A.J. Brown, both elite wide receivers. Diggs is still, on the twilight of his prime, but Josh Allen's going to throw the ball so much to him that I want him on my team. And then A.J. Brown is arguably one of the best physically gifted, talented receivers in the league. I think he's going to pick up where he left off last year, and you should make him your potential top 5 wide receiver. Either way, I love A.J. Brown. Grab him at the end of the first. If you get him in the second round, thumbs up. That's even better. Let's go ahead and get these 2 receivers off the board next. That's going to be CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams. So we're starting round 2 right now. So chapter 2 has begun. CeeDee Lamb, I don't think he's a top 5 receiver, but I think he's a really safe top 10 receiver. I like him, putting him in the second round here, the first pick of the second round. If you want to start your draft AJB and CeeDee Lamb, I think you're going to have fun. And then Davante here, I'm a little bit lower on Davante, I think, than most rankings and consensus rankings. But either way, we know Davante is really good. He does turn 31 this year. That does concern me a little bit, and I also don't really care for the Raiders, but he's hard to ignore. His receiver talent is still one of the best in the league. So Lamb and Davante Adams begin round 2. I'm going to go ahead and get Nick Chubb in there, because I think Nick Chubb is the last of the running backs that I want as my RB1. Eckler, McCaffrey, Bijan, Barkley, Pollard, Chubb. I think the goal is to get one of these guys as your running back 1 in the first 2 rounds. Because after that, I'm going to drop some running backs in my rankings, because I'm a little bit nervous on it. So we're probably going to go on a nice little wide receiver here run here. Let's go ahead and get that going. I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Detroit Lions wide receiver here at 16. I think he's locked for 100-plus receptions as long as he stays healthy. He's going to be a PPR beast. I think in a half PPR standard league, that's maybe a little bit different. But either way, I know I'm getting bankable volume with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to go ahead and put Garrett Wilson here next. Let's go ahead and throw, we're going to throw Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, and Devonta Smith all here, because I think these guys are all, like, literally this whole tier of wide receivers, they all look great, because you can get them as your wide receiver 2 if you start with a wide receiver in the first round, or these guys can all end up being your wide receiver 1 for you this season. Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Waddle, Olave, and Devonta Smith. To me, they're all worth a mid to late second round pick. Sometimes you get these guys going in the third round. Let's finish up the end of round 2 here. I'm going to go ahead and get Derrick Henry out of the way. I'm not a big Derrick Henry fan, so I'm going to be a little bit lower on him. He's still really good, but he's 29 years old now. Titans offensive line's not great, so that does concern me a little bit there. And then you can notice that I'm starting to kind of drop the quarterbacks a little bit here. Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, I still don't have these guys on my rankings yet. But I got 1, 2, 3 more picks left here in the second round. I'm going to get some wide receivers continuing to go here. I'm actually going to get DK Metcalf in here. Let's go ahead and get DK Metcalf at 22. I'm going to put T. Higgins in here at 23. And then the final pick of the second round, let's go ahead and make it. I don't want to do any of the receivers quite yet. All right, I'm going to do Jalen Hurts, my first QB off the board, and that's the end of our second round. Honestly, if you can get DK Metcalf, T. Higgins in the third round, please do so. I think these guys are really, really exciting picks, and I trust them more than the running backs that I left on the board. Again, I mentioned all of these wide receivers right here: St. Brown, Wilson, Waddle, Olave, and Smith. I love these guys in the second round. If you get them in the third round, please do so. And then Derrick Henry, I'm taking these receivers over Derrick Henry, if I'm being honest. And actually, let's go ahead and move Derrick Henry down just 1 above Jalen Hurts. And that's the end of my second round. Let's go ahead and get Mahomes off of the board. Beginning of round 3, we'll go Mahomes. And then I'm going to get Josh Allen in there too. So I think if you want a quarterback, you're going to think about it at the 2-3 turn. You're going to think about it in the early third round. If you want one of these guys, that's the time to pull it, because they're not going to come back to you. I love all of them. Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, they're all super safe. I don't want to put Josh Jacobs in here, but I'm going to, because he's going to report at some point, and if you get him in the third round, that's just a good value for a good player. So we'll put him there, and then I'm swerving on JT. Let's go ahead and get the tight end Mark Andrews. Now let's wait on Mark Andrews. Tell you what, I'm gonna sneak one more. Let's get some running backs in here. I'm gonna go with Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs is more of a PPR play. I think he's worth a mid-third round pick to late third round pick in full PPR. Standard half PPR, he would be lower. But again, my mindset usually is full PPR for these things. So I'm going to put Jahmyr Gibbs there. I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? I'll throw Mark Andrews in here. He's an elite tight end. He's attached to Lamar Jackson. I don't mind paying a mid-third round price tag on him. And then after that, like, I'm waiting on Harris, Etienne, Stevenson, Jonathan Taylor. Let's go ahead and do some wide receivers here. Calvin Ridley and Deebo Samuel need to be on this list. And then where's Keenan Allen? Keenan Allen needs to be here as well. He's a great third round selection. So I'm just kind of starting to fill up my wide receivers here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to put Keenan Allen behind Ridley and Deebo next. Let me see if there's any other wide receivers here that make sense for us. Got a lot of running backs sitting at the top of the queue. We got Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, a lot of running backs sitting at the top of the queue. I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and get let's go ahead and get Ramondre Stevenson off the board. I think I am worried a little bit about Ezekiel Elliott, but Stevenson's still going to be heavily used as a runner. He's still going to be heavily used as the pass catcher. He does profile as a running back too for me. More running backs. Let's go ahead and get Joe Mixon in here. I don't personally love Joe Mixon, but he's going to get a lot of volume, so it's hard to ignore that. I'm going to go ahead and get another running back in here, Aaron Jones. Again, same thing. He's going to get a ton of volume in that Green Bay Packers offense. And the last pick of the third round, I'm going to go ahead and put we'll put Travis Etienne in here. So I'm looking for these three receivers: Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, and Deebo Samuel. If I can get them in the third, I'm going to do that. Otherwise, I'm cool with grabbing one of these running backs to be my RB2. Ramondre, Mixon, Aaron Jones, and Etienne. They all feel really safe and solid as my running back too. Moving on into the fourth round, we're going to start this with Lamar Jackson, get him in the top of the fourth. And then we're going to wait on Joe Burrow in a little bit here. But I'm still waiting on Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, and Breece Hall. We'll go ahead and get Amari Cooper out of the way here. I might pivot to some wide receivers in this range. Let me see if I can filter it and see who sprinkles to the top. DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy. I'll go ahead and get DeAndre Hopkins in here. I think just with the Treylon Burks injuries and some of the other injuries, I still think Hopkins is worth a fourth round pick. I know he's getting up there in age, but again, he's basically a discount Devontae Adams at this point, which I love. My next running back is going to be Dameon Pierce. I'm all in on Dameon Pierce. I actually think he can be a top 12 running back this year. I don't expect the Texans to be super great on offense, but I do expect them to give the ball to DP a ton. Sure, I'll put Najee Harris in there. Najee's a volume play. He's a steady Eddie running back too. I'll put him in there for you guys. And then you notice here we're starting to get some QBs bubbling to the top of the queue. But I'm gonna pivot here, and I think we're gonna go with some wide receivers, guys. We have Terry McLaurin injured, Jerry Jeudy injured. I got to get my guy in here, Big Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams is worth a fourth round pick. I think he can be your wide receiver too. But where you're going to grab him in your drafts is probably more like a wide receiver 3, which feels pretty good to me. I'm passing on Terry. I'll go ahead and get DJ Moore in here. I think he's a pretty safe, reliable wide receiver too. I'm skeptical of the volume in Chicago, but either way, I'm still feeling pretty good about DJ Moore on my team. I'll grab Christian Watson. So we're continuing this wide receiver run right here. Let's see what else we can get in here. I really like Drake London. I'm going to put London here in the fourth round, and then I probably need to cool it. Now I got one more. I'm gonna go with Deontay Johnson in there. And let's see, I got 2 more picks left, end of the fourth round. I'll go ahead and get, let's get my QBs in there. Let's get Justin Herbert. And let's get Joe Burrow. So there's our round 4 squad. I'll recap it here for you guys. So round 4, it's looking like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Dameon Pierce, Najee Harris, Mike Williams, DJ Moore, Christian Watson, Drake London, Deontay Johnson, Herbert, and Burrow. So if you want to wait for QB, I think you can grab Herbert or Burrow at the end of the fourth round. If they dip into the 5th, great. I just want to be higher on those guys here. And as we start the 5th round, I'm actually going to just throw Justin Fields in there because I think he's just as good in fantasy as these guys here, if not maybe more exciting with the rushing ability here. So I love that tier of quarterbacks. If you go into your draft with Lamar, Herbert, Burrow, Fields as your plan, I think that's a good plan. But notice I still don't have Jonathan Taylor on the board. I'm super skeptical of him. I almost don't want him on my team. I'm sure I'll throw him here, somewhere in here in the 5th round. But we got, again, some injured receivers here. I'm going to get Darren Waller in the 5th round. He is one of my favorite tight ends to target right now. If you're drafting this weekend, 5th round Darren Waller is a great price to pay for potentially what I think could be the tight end 3 this season. I'm swerving on a lot of running backs here. Again, McLaurin and Jeudy are both injured. They're not going to be 100% week 1 if they can play. I actually don't expect Jeudy to play week 1, maybe even a week or 2 off for him. And McLaurin's going to plummet down my board a little bit. But the wide receivers I'm pushing up, maybe Godwin. I'll tell you what, we're gonna put these 2 big bosses in there. Tyler Lockett and Brandon Ayuk. These guys are both worth 5th round picks. And then I probably need to pivot towards running back here. So fine, I'll get Jonathan Taylor and Breece Hall off my board. If they're a 5th round pick that I can collect, I'm fine with it. I still don't feel great about Jonathan Taylor. And to be honest with you, I'm not drafting Jonathan Taylor. So I'll get him here on the list. I think Breece Hall, you can find a way to draft Breece Hall as your RB2, and then just draft somebody else that you could maybe start for the first week or 2 and see how this offense is actually going to look. I'm still waiting on Hawkinson. Kenneth Walker's okay. Starting to not really like this list at the top here. This is kind of my queue of guys I don't really want to draft. I keep pushing up wide receivers, but I think I got to start tacking on some of these players here. Let's see. Kenneth Walker is going to get volume, so we'll continue the running back run here. And honestly, guys, I got to get my favorite running back in here. Well, let's go ahead and get J.K. Dobbins off the list. I think he's going to be healthy and have something to prove. He's playing for a big contract. But otherwise, I do need to get David Montgomery on the board. I'm starting to think about Montgomery as an end of the 5th round. These 2 guys are fantastic. If you wanted to wait for running back and get these guys at the 5-6 turn, I think that could pay off handsomely for you. TJ Hawkinson, Kittle, I'm still kind of sleeping on those guys right now. I think Miles Sanders is fine as a running back too. We'll go ahead and put him here. And I got 2 more picks here at the end of the 5th round. I'm going to make them – I don't really love Alexander Mattison. Javonte Williams is interesting. Let me see if we got any more wide receivers I can put. McLaurin and Jeudy are falling for me. I think I'm going to put them in the 6th round though. I'll put Chris Godwin in there. I think he's a safe, bankable wide receiver 3. And then if I had to put one more wide receiver in here, Evans, Kirk, Pittman, Pickens, Marquise Brown. It's tough. It's tough. Here's what we'll do. Okay. I'm gonna go Trevor Lawrence because I think Trevor Lawrence has value, and then after him, there's a nice little QB drop off. So round 5 for me, I'm looking for these guys: Fields, Waller, Lockett, Ayuk, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, and Chris Godwin, and Trevor Lawrence, end of the tier. Round 6, this is going to be probably a list of players that I'm not super excited about, but I'm going to get them off the board for ADP sake here. If TJ Hawkinson falls to the 6th, cool. I'm actually not taking George Kittle here, and we're actually going to put Dallas Goedert ahead of these guys because when it gets to the 6th round and say you miss Darren Waller, I want Dallas Goedert. I'll go ahead and clean up shop here with these other tight ends. Hawkinson and Kittle are fine in the 6th round. I don't hate it. They're both solid options there. We're going to wait on Kyle Pitts for a bit. Fine, I'll get Jerry Jeudy. No, I'm gonna put. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put Terry McLaurin in the 6th round. But then guess what? I'm also gonna do here. I'm gonna put the steal of the draft here, guys. It's Jahan Dotson. Don't take Terry McLaurin. Take Jahan Dotson. He's better than Terry McLaurin. You'll see soon enough. Jahan. If you take one thing away from this and you take it into your drafts this weekend, it's draft Jahan Dotson just a little bit earlier than you think you need to, because I think he's gonna pay off huge dividends. Other 6th round players here. We probably need to get some of these running backs off the board. I'll get Alexander Mattison off the board here. Let's go ahead and get Javonte Williams, who I think is moving. He's screaming up boards right now. I'll put him in the 6th round. What else do we got? Kamara, Akers, Connor. I'll put James Conner here in the 6th round. I don't hate that pick. And actually, what I need to do is I need to get my guy up above Alexander Madison. I need to get James Cook because I think James Cook is a really sweet RB2. You can get him in the 6th round, and I think you feel pretty good about that. Other running backs in the 6th round, I'm not taking Kamara or Akers or Dalvin Cook quite yet. Rachaad White, like all these guys, I have a lot of question marks on here. So I think I'm good on running back for a little bit. I'm going to still pass on Jerry Jeudy, but I do. Fine, we'll get let's get one of my more exciting picks out of the way here. That's George Pickens. I'm fine with looking for him in the 6th round. He should fall into the 7th. And then if I have to tag 2 more wide receivers here, it's going to be Mike Evans and Christian Kirk. So let's recap my 6th round here, starting with Dallas Goedert, who if I can't get Waller, I want Goddard on all my teams. I'm passing on Hockenson and Kittle. I just put him on the list there. I'm passing on McLaurin because I want Jahan Dotson. I love James Cook. He's probably my favorite running back to take in this list. Alexander Madison, Javonte Williams. If you want Javonte on your team, just draft like a Jamal Williams or someone that you could start for the first couple games because I don't think Javonte is going to be ready to be a bell cow week 1. It's going to take him a few games to get his feet underneath him. James Conner is going to get volume. George Pickens is a dog. And then Mike Evans and Christian Kirk down here at the end of the 6th round. Let's keep it moving. We're going into the 7th round now. Jeudy, Pitts, Kamara, Akers, Dalvin Cook, Rachaad White, DeAndre Swift. We're going to pass on Watson and some of the QBs here. It's getting kind of ugly, man. Eighth round here, or this is the 7th round. It's looking kind of fugly. So at this point, let's go ahead and just get some of these guys off the board. I'm actually going to make a huge chunk here of these players. So top of the 7th round, I'll land on Jeudy, Pitts, Kamara, Akers. I actually do think we need to pull up with the Jeudy injury, we do need to pull up Courtland Sutton. So that's who I'm looking for here. And I think their ADP should be very similar because, yeah, maybe Sutton is the wide receiver 1 week 1, but Jeudy does have the opportunity to come back. And actually, I think we're going to do this. Let's go ahead and do that. So top of round 7 is Kyle Pitts, Alvin Kamara, who, again, I love Alvin Kamara. If you want to grab a running back 2 and just say, hey, I want James Cook as my RB2, but I'm going to grab Alvin Kamara right away to see how that shakes out for the rest of the year. Go ahead and do so. I'm not really excited about Cam Akers, so I'm a little bit lower here. But Sutton and Jeudy, I think I'm taking Sutton right now over Jeudy. Not interested in Cook. Fine, I'll get Rachaad White out of the way here. He's the lead back in Tampa. He's a better PPR pick for sure. And honestly, let's go ahead and get Pacheco in here because I think Pacheco is a guy that I love quite a bit. I'm also going to grab some other running backs here because there are 2 that I really want. I'm going to do, well, 3. I'm going to do Khalil Herbert. And then I got Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. These dudes are going to be very valuable. I actually think that if you waited in your draft and you're just like, I want 2 of these guys, Pacheco, Herbert, B-Rob, and Gibson, they can legit be your starters if you want to hit wide receiver early and often. Go ahead and do so. But I got 2 more picks left here in the 7th round. Again, I'm swerving on Cook. I'm swerving on Swift. Pittman Jr. presents some value here. I'll tell you what. We're going to get Brandon Cooks and Jordan Addison on the list here. And that's the end of the 7th round for me. But this is going to bleed right into the 8th. So Kyle Pitts, Kamara, Akers, Sutton, Jeudy, White, Pacheco, Khalil Herbert, Brian Robinson, Gibson, Brandon Cooks, and Jordan Addison. But I want to continue this wide receiver run because this is the round where I think you want to make sure you hammer some wide receivers home. I'm okay with Michael Pittman. He's going to be your number 3, number 4 receiver on your team, but he is the clear 1 for Anthony Richardson. Not excited about Marquise Brown. I am excited about Treylon Burks. Michael Thomas is interesting, but let's go ahead. We got to get Gabe Davis off the list. Like, I know he kind of burned people last year, but he's a good player. He's going to be healthy this year. I'm pretty excited about what he can do. And then where is the best rookie receiver that you might want to target this year? It's Zay Flowers. There he is. So we'll get Zay Flowers in here. Who else do I got? Looks like I missed Gabe Davis's ADP. There we go. Marquise Brown, JSN, Treylon Burks. Fine, I'll get these guys off the board. I'm not super excited about them, but I have them ranked right around 8. Like I have Marquise Brown right at ADP. I'm still taking JSN because I think he's going to be a dude that helps us win our fantasy championships. But I'm looking for some more receivers here. I'm still not interested in these running backs or tight ends or these quarterbacks. So I'm pushing these guys down. Pat Freiermuth will be my next tight end that I'm taking. I like Samaje Perine quite a bit. Let me see. Kadarius Toney, no thank you. Michael Thomas, maybe. I think there's some higher upside guys, and there he is. There's Mr. Sky Moore, the guy I was looking for. We'll put him here squarely in the 8th round. Other 8th round picks, we probably need to clean up shop a little bit here. I'll put Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift in here. I'm not excited about these guys long term, but if you want to grab them in the 8th round, I think they do present a little bit of value. I'll also put AJ Dillon here in the 8th round. I don't mind him. And we got we got 3 more picks left. Let's go ahead and get the other running back here that I saw sticking out a little bit, and that was AJ Dillon. I think Samaje Perine actually was the guy that I was looking for. So Dillon and Perine go end of the 8th round. I got 2 more picks left in the 8th round. Let's make Pat Daddy Freiermuth one of them. And here's my tight end stance. If I can't get Waller, I try for Goddard. If I can't get Goddard, I try for Pat Freiermuth. So I want to be ahead of ADP on Pat Freiermuth. And then the final pick of the 8th round, it's going to be Anthony Richardson, who is the ideal guy. Like, if you want to wait for QB, I love grabbing Anthony Richardson. And then let's go ahead and do a little QB run here. We're starting the 9th round right now. Sure, I'll take Deshaun Watson, get him off the list. I'll take Dak Prescott and Tua off the list as well. I view these guys very, very similarly. And now we're at that point where it doesn't really matter. I think you grab the QBs that you're looking for here. I do think Kirk Cousins belongs in that tier along with Daniel Jones. So round 9, guys, if you want to wait for your QB, I think there's really, really good quarterbacks here in this range. So you know what? I'm even going to grab Geno Smith and just make a huge tier of quarterbacks. If you wait for the 8-9 turn, you can come up with Anthony Richardson and one of these QBs. I think that's how I would prefer to do it if I'm in a 1 QB league. I'm going to clean up these tight ends, Ingram and Njoku. I'm not super excited about them, but I do think they should be 9th round picks. And let's see here. We should probably pivot towards, Jamal Williams, Charbonnet, Jerick McKinnon, A-Chain, Penny. Not super excited about these running backs here, so I think I'm gonna start grabbing the wide receivers. And Treylon Burks is still a guy I want on my bench. I know he might not be 100% week 1, but I do want him on my bench. I'll go ahead and get Michael Thomas off the list and put him there. We got 2 more picks left here in the 9th round. Quentin Johnston, Tony, Adam Thielen, no thank you. Alan Lazard, no thank you. Jameson, there he is, Elijah Moore. That's the guy I was looking for. Let's go ahead and throw Elijah in here. And then I think I got 1 more wide receiver for you guys that I'm higher on than I think most people are. And that's going to be Rashad Bateman. Where was Mr. Bateman? He's down here at 155. So I think he's a pretty big hit. If you can grab him later in your draft, go ahead and do so. And I do want to advise caution. If you're using this list as like your hardcore rankings, use this more as a guide, as like a check mark list. So you have your cheat sheet that you print off for ESPN, Yahoo, whatever. Use that as your go-to, but then like use this as like, okay, he's got Bateman ranked really highly. I don't need to take him at 108, but I should probably take him pretty soon. That's kind of the mindset when you're using these rankings. But let's go ahead. What do we got here? That just finished the 9th round. So 9th round picks include a bunch of QBs. Again, I mentioned my QB strategy. If you want to wait for 1 QB, you go with Richardson and then one of these other guys here on the list. Ingram and Njoku are fine 9th round picks. And then I like grabbing these wide receivers: Burks, Thomas, Elijah Moore, and Rashad Bateman. Round 10, I'm probably going to go RB heavy here. So let's go ahead and get Jamal Williams off the list. If you want to draft Breece Hall or Javonte Williams or Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams is a really good pick to get you through the first 3 or 4 games. Charbonnet, just another rookie that I want to take on my team because he's a high draft pick. He's going to get 3rd down work, and he might actually get goal line work. McKinnon's a nice PPR running back to put in your tool belts. Zeke, I'm not buying Zeke this high, guys. Elijah Mitchell, I'm not buying Elijah Mitchell this high. I do want to put these 2 guys here, the Miami running backs. I think these guys are going to have pretty nice value. As long as they don't go trade for Jonathan Taylor, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with these 9th round running backs. 8th round wide receivers or 9th round wide receivers, fine. I'll get Odell Beckham and Juju off the board. These guys are just depth pieces. I wouldn't want them in my starting lineups. I do think we pull the rookie Quentin Johnston here as well. And how many picks do I got here? I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 picks left to make here in the 10th round. I'm going to grab I don't love Lazard. I do like Jacoby Myers. I think he's a nice wide receiver bench piece. I think the Raiders are going to have to throw the ball a lot. And with Devontae Adams getting all the coverage there, he might be a guy that kind of flies under the radar. Other wide receivers here that should be higher in these ADPs, honestly, it's going to be Nico Collins, starting receiver for the Houston Texans. And then I did see the next one that I want to put on the list, and that is going to be Romeo Dobbs. He's going to operate as the number 2 receiver for Jordan Love all season long. That looks like a pretty safe pick to me. And I got one more pick here. Do I want to go wide receiver? Do I want to go quarterback? I don't know why I had Jared Goff this low, but Jared Goff is pretty low on these rankings. So I'm going to put Jared Goff as my last pick of the 10th round. So 10th round recap here. I'm looking for depth pieces in the 10th round, running backs and wide receivers. Jamal Williams, Zach Charbonnet, McKinnon, Wilson, Mostert. Give me Odell Beckham, Juju, Quentin, Jacoby, Nico, Romeo Dobbs, Jared Goff. That's a really nice look at the 10th round for you guys. Moving into the 11th round now, there's some QBs that don't really excite me. I do actually want to look at let's look at the running backs available here. Who's at the top of the board? Because we got to get this one out of the way. It's Jaylen Warren and Tank Bigsby. I'm gonna vault these guys up in the rankings here. Let's actually go ahead and get that all selected here so I can make these picks. But Jaylen Warren is the number 1 player I want on all my benches this year. I think Tank Bigsby as well. You should be targeting running backs at this point in the draft because if we're being honest, like there's just not a lot of value at the wide receiver position. There's always something wrong with these guys down here. I do think this is a potential tight end round. So sure, let's go ahead and get my favorite rookie tight end to draft this year. That's going to be Dalton Kincaid. He's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver and a tight end body here. So I like him quite a bit. I'll get Dalton Schultz off the list as well. He's just kind of like a security blanket for CJ Stroud. Could be in for a nice year. Let's see here. Man, we're getting beat up. We're getting beat up. I'll get Rashad Penny off the list. I'm not super excited about it, but we do need to nip at him at some point. We're at 125 now. A-Chain's falling. Ezekiel Elliott, sure. I'll put Zeke down on the list. And then I did see one more running back I got to get off the list here. That's Elijah Mitchell. He's purely a handcuff who might have some he might have some games where he gets a touchdown every now and then, but I'm not overly excited about him. Let's get to some players I'm actually excited about drafting on my teams. Fine, I'll get Kadarius Toney off the list. I think Kadarius Toney is a knucklehead. I think he's a terrible pick at almost any ADP, but I'll get him off the list. But when I put him down, I need to get the other rookie wide receiver for Pat Mahomes on the list, and that is Rashee Rice. Other receivers that I want to put on this list ahead of fine, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do Adam Thielen here because DJ Chark's injured. Thielen's fine in the 13th round if you want to do so, but then I have to go back and grab his rookie counterpart, and that's going to be rookie Jonathan Mingo. Where is Mr. Mingo? There he is. Mingo's a fun high upside rookie pick. 13th, 14th, 15th round, you guys should be taking these stabs at rookies, building up your bench for the playoff run. Otherwise here, I just want to look and see. Let's filter here. I'm fine on waiting on QB. Running backs have really thinned out, but there is one here that needs to be put on the list, and that is Kenneth Gainwell. I do have one more running back that I want to put on the list here in the 13th round, and that's going to be Roschon Johnson. Again, I'm skipping all these guys up here. A-Chain, Singletary, Algier. These guys are just like handcuffed bench pieces that are just going to probably rot on your bench for the most part during the season. No other running backs I want to put on the list yet. Tight end, they're starting to look good. Wide receivers here, not super excited about it. I'm just going to reach for my tight ends here, guys. In the 13th round, get your guys. Swerve on a lot of these guys here because you just don't need them. Jake Ferguson is the tight end sleeper if you want. If you can't get Waller, if you can't get Goddard, if you can't get Freiermuth, Jake Ferguson is that dude. And then the other tight end to grab here is Luke Musgrave. I think you can make a duo of Musgrave and Ferguson and feel pretty good about what you're going to end up getting. The next tight end is I'm going to reach a little bit here for Juwan Johnson. I feel pretty strongly about Juwan Johnson and his role with the New Orleans Saints. And now I kind of probably need to clean up some ADP shop here. Fine, I'll go on a mini quarterback run. These guys probably shouldn't be drafted in a 1 QB league, but I'm going to get them off the board here and clean up space. Russell Wilson does concern me here. And we'll get Derek Carr off the list as well. And then that's probably all the quarterbacks that need to be considered drafted in a 1 QB league. Now, I have missed my favorite rookie wide receiver here. And I don't even know if he's on the list. It's Marvin Mims, guys. I have to actually boost Marvin Mims a little bit higher here. I'm going to put him here. But I'm taking Marvin Mims over Toney and Rice. Marvin Mims, with this injury to Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims is a gem. He should be a 12th, 13th round pick. Boost him higher up in your rankings. And at this point, we're just kind of on coast here. I'm just going to be flinging in some guys here. Allen Lazard is a bench piece that could have some value at some point this season. Not overly excited about him. Tyler Boyd is a bench piece that could have some value. We do need to probably get the Giants receivers in here. Jalen Hyatt's the top Giants wide receiver being drafted. Don't know if I agree with it. He's not going to have value for the first few games here. He's going to have to work his way into that lineup. I'll get Zay Jones in here. And Zay Jones is actually the reason why people are a little bit nervous about Christian Kirk, because I think Zay Jones is going to be on the field a little bit more than people want. Let's see here. Mooney, no thank you. Rondale Moore. I'm going to get KJ Osborne and Michael Gallup. These guys are trusted receivers here that are good, and they're an injury away from being in our starting lineup. I do want to get Jaden Reed and Isaiah Hodgins on the list here. Jaden Reed's one of the best rookie picks. It probably was, if you would ask me yesterday, the best rookie receiver pick late was what it was going to be Marvin Mims, but now it's Jaden Reed, who I think is actually pretty dang good. He's not going to come off the field very much. And again, the point is, I think you can tell at the end of this video here, I'm just picking guys that I like. ADP does not really matter to me in the 13th, 14th round of my fantasy drafts. Let's get some of these tight ends off the board. Higbee and Okonkwo, these guys are fringe tight end ones. You notice I passed on Kmet. I'll grab Cole Kmet down here. I'm super nervous about the Bears passing offense with DJ Moore there. I just don't think there's enough targets to go around here. We'll go ahead and get Tyler Algier, who's a pretty nice handcuff and might have a base role in that offense, but I think you're probably not starting him unless there's a Bijan injury. A-Chain, not interested in a redraft league. Foreman, Harris are dead. Kendre Miller's kind of fun. We'll throw Kendre down here. He's the guy that I wouldn't mind babysitting for the first 3 games while Kamara's, serving his suspension. I'm not drafting Jameson Williams. Everett and Dulcich should probably be on the list, and especially Dulcich now with this Jerry Jeudy news. Dulcich will probably be on the field a little bit more in passing situations. I'm probably not putting any more quarterbacks on the list here. I do need to get Sam Laporta on the list because he's an exciting rookie tight end, and this might be the year of the rookie tight end, man. I'm pretty excited about those guys. I do need to get we need to get some exciting running backs down here. And one of the guys that I'm actually looking for quite a bit lately has been Tyjae Spears. I think he's the number 2 to Derrick Henry. I think he's the pass-catching back already. And if anything happens to Henry, man, you got potentially league-winning upside at that position. Another running back to monitor here is Kieran Williams, who I actually think is going to eat into Cam Akers' workload. I'm not making the pick of Cam Akers in the 6th round wherever I made him. Take a flyer on Kieran Williams because we might see something that we like the first week or so. Ty Chandler is the other running back 2 that I'm targeting a lot. Again, Spears, Karen, Ty Chandler, these guys are going to be useful at some point this season, and they might be waiver wire pickups, but I don't mind putting them on my bench. All right, let's take a look and clean up some of these wide receivers. I'm going to get Alec Pierce off the list. He should be going higher. Let's go ahead and get fine. I'm just going to do a big chunk. I'm just going to do a huge chunk of wide receivers here. These guys are all fine as the last receiver on your team. And now I'm down to my final 7 picks. Darius Slayton should be on this list. Curtis Samuel should be on this list. There he is. And then I see a couple other guys that should be on this list at receiver too. So I'm just going to keep finishing this out. I do think you want receivers that have roles in their offenses. So Hunter Renfrow and Paris Campbell are going to have roles. And then I thought I saw one more guy here. Michael Wilson needs to be on. I'm going to take this little chunk right here, actually. Let's take this whole chunk and I'll cut it up down here. Yeah, I don't want Marvin Jones on the list here, so we're gonna put that there. Is that my list? Who did I leave off? Did I leave off anyone that needs to be taken here? I'm not interested in landing on these turd running backs. Stafford, Pickett shouldn't be drafted. Zamir White maybe if Josh Jacobs isn't signed yet. Here, I'll put Zamir White here at the end of the list. Sure, we'll put him in over Mecole Hardman, something like that. Keep an eye on Zamir White. I don't think Deuce Vaughn's a thing yet. A lot of quarterbacks. I'm not taking Cordero Patterson, Dawson Knox. Look at all the tight ends that are just chilling on the waiver wire. I think we did a pretty good job here. A lot of the receivers are used up here. So that's it. That's the list, guys. I hope this video was helpful. I probably didn't explain everything too well. I am going to update this on the fantasyfellowship.com. There's going to be a comment below, or there should be a link in the description where it'll get you to look at the top 175 list. So I'm going to upload it there. You guys can check it out. Otherwise, tomorrow I'm doing my big website update before the weekend. Rankings, projections, cheat sheets, all that's going to be there. But if you want to go check out the top 175, it's right here, 1QB, PPR. That's what we're doing. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. We'll see you guys in a future video. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have fun watching preseason. Peace.